in India, from out of which roughly about 1.5 lakh students graduate in law. Now you know which branch, which discipline produces more number of students, more number of graduates, and which produces approximately, in comparison, lesser number of students. About, if the country produces about 1 lakh of medical graduates, it produces about 1.5 lakh law graduates and about 10 times more than that of engineering graduates. If you take 3 students, one who has pursued engineering, another who has pursued law, third who has pursued medicine, let's see what happened to their career immediately after they complete their degree. Let us not talk about postgraduate degrees and doctorate degrees. If a person who competes with 23 lakh students passes NEET, becomes one of those 13 lakh students who clear NEET and gets graduated as part of those 1 lakh students who are medical graduates, and he doesn't pursue any postgraduate course in medicine, there is every chance that this MBBS graduate gets employed in a hospital with a salary of about 20,000 rupees. An engineering graduate, if he belongs to the computer or information technology, he doesn't pursue post-graduation. Immediately upon completion of degree course, he may get appointed to a post in an IT industry which will offer him about 30,000 rupees per month, which is slightly higher than what an MBBS graduate would get. Now, come to the case of a law graduate. If you graduate in law, this year, the Supreme Court has said that you must have 3 years of practice to get into the judiciary. But before that, the Supreme Court is oscillating. Actually, Supreme Court earlier said fresh graduates can apply for civil judge junior division post. Let us assume that that is the situation. A fresh graduate law is entitled to compete for an entry into judiciary at the entry level post, which is the post of civil judge junior division. Let us assume that a fresh law graduate takes this exam, passes, and gets appointed as a civil judge. That person starts with a pay pocket of 1,20,000 rupees. Now compare what a fresh graduate in medicine gets, a fresh graduate in engineering gets, and a fresh graduate in law gets. It is extremely difficult to get into the stream of medicine, but the rewards are less. It is not so difficult to get into, it has become extremely difficult in national law universities. In law colleges, which are not part of the national law universities, it is not that much difficult to get into a law course as much as it is difficult to get into a medical course. So what you should understand is that in life, the rewards do not exactly match the industry or intelligence. Many times the rewards may be completely disproportionate. Therefore, when you take up a course, the object of your taking the course should not be to assess what type of rewards you will get. Fortunately, I have come to a law course where the rewards are more. But then that should never be your objective. If that is your objective, then you are ultimately likely to get frustrated in life. So this is the first question that I wanted to impress upon you, that you must know, why have you chosen law? Is there a purpose? Do you want to pursue a career as a lawyer, litigation lawyer? Do you want to pursue a career as a corporate lawyer sitting in an office working on templates repeating the drafting of the same agreements over and over again? Or do you want to become part of an NGO who will take up public causes? Or do you want to pursue higher studies in law and become teachers? So you will have to be very clear in your mind as to what you want to do with a degree in law. This is the first thing I wanted to impress upon you. The second thing I wanted to impress upon you, at the beginning of your course, as part of this Deeksharambh, we used to have Vidyarambh, at the age of 5, we used to put children on Vijayadashami day, Dashara, Vijayadashami day, we used to send children, we used to initiate them into education. That was called Vidyarambh. Now this is called the Deeksharambh. So in the Deeksharambh, what are you supposed to do? What is this law about? If you look at the history of humankind, the division between what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, was always advocated by religions and philosophers. But the penalty for disobeying the law was reserved for the next birth in religion. Therefore, in order to keep people's conduct under check, philosophy and religion were not sufficient, laws were developed. Because laws delivered instantaneous justice to what is right and what is wrong. But when society became more complicated, the question as to what is right and what is wrong also became complicated. What is right for one man at a particular point of time may turn out to be wrong even for him at a later point of time. What is right for one man may be wrong for another person. Therefore, who decides? That is why when laws were developed, laws prescribed a common minimum denominator, a common boundary beyond which people will not go. I will put it in simple terms. How many of you have heard about Professor Michael Sandel? No, not the teachers. I'm asking about the students. Michael Sandel is a professor who conducted a series of, he wrote a book on the idea of justice, and he also gave talks, YouTube talks. His YouTube talks are very famous. He explains to students as to how it is not very easy to find what is right and what is wrong, because in every given situation, a small twist will turn right into wrong and the wrong into right. He starts with the example of a trolley. A trolley on a track is going down the hill with 5 persons on board. Suddenly, the driver of the trolley realizes that there is a brake failure. There are 2 alternatives for him. Alternative number 1, they leave it to God, put his hands up, so that the trolley will fall from the ridge and then all 5 will die. There is a second alternative. Though there is a brake failure, there is a lever which can be operated to turn the trolley towards the boulder side of the hill, but there is a deaf and dumb person working there. So there is every chance of this trolley hitting and killing that one person. If he does that, these 5 persons on board the trolley will get saved. What is the decision that this pilot of the trolley will take? Now let me ask you, how many of you support the view that the pilot of the trolley can take the second alternative, kill one person who is working on the track and save 5? And how many of you will support the second alternative of allowing the trolley to fall, allowing all 5 to die? How many of you will choose the first alternative of killing one to save 5? Yes, almost 50%. Okay. Now, how many of you will choose the second alternative of leaving everything to God and risking the lives of all the 5? Only 5. Okay, but in a class of about 60, 30 people said they will choose the first option, 5 people have chosen the second option. They have allowed God himself to answer the question. That can't be the case. Many people, why did 50% of you choose the first option? You chose the first option because you thought serving a greater public good, which is called the utilitarian theory, was a better option than allowing everybody to die. Right? Though you did not think about utilitarian theory, this concept, you did not know who developed this theory, your DNA is such that it gave such an answer. You did not know the philosophy behind, you did not know the theory behind, but you knew the right answer, or right answer, or whatever answer. Answer which according to you is right. But other 5 thought that you cannot do an act which you know will result in the death of one under the guise of saving 5. Correct? Now this Professor Singh gives a small twist to the whole story. In the option that he gave, all that the pilot had to do was to turn the lever, that's all. He was not required to do a positive act to kill a person. He was required to do something which would have automatically resulted in the killing of somebody. Let us say the second option. Second model. In the second model, nobody is working with the track. But there is an overbridge from which a fat person is looking at what is happening below. Next to him, there is another man. He sees the danger. All that he has to do is to just push this fat person onto the track so that he becomes the brake for the van. Then Sample asked, how many of you would support this act? People who chose the first option. Now tell me, how many of you will choose the option of the person standing on the overbridge, pushing somebody onto the track? Nobody. So this is a situation where somebody could have willingly killed someone and yet saved the 5. But none of you is prepared to choose this option. So what law does is to open up your eyes to the fact that there is nothing called this is 100% right, this is 100% wrong. Therefore, whatever I think is right, whatever the other man thinks is wrong, is not a solution. Right? Law teaches you that there are never so many possibilities, and the situations thrown up before you are almost all times they lie in grey. So you only present which part of it is right, which part of it is wrong, and it is for the other man also to present a similar fact. Once this is the most fundamental thing that you must have an understanding of before you become a full-fledged lawyer. And law is not all about just earning money. Of course, it gives you enormous opportunities to make a lot of money. In fact, the newspaper reported, no more a secret, the newspaper reported that one of the very famous lawyers in the Supreme Court, last year he filed an income tax return to the tune of 365 crores, which means making 1 crore a day, which I don't think in your entire lifetime it's possible for you to make. Normally. So enormous opportunities to make a lot of money is always there in law. But is that the end of your education? We often get educated not really just earning our daily bread. We get educated, you must remember, at the cost of millions of people. In fact, Swami Vivekananda said, I hold every man a traitor who, having been educated at the expense of the masses, is not the least to hit them. You must know, when you get educated, you pay a certain amount of fee. The institution is established at a certain cost. For establishing the institution at a certain cost, the public have also borne the brunt of the expense. Somebody's land has been acquired, somebody has been paid compensation, somebody's house has been destroyed, university comes up, you go there and study. Therefore, it is not as though you have paid exactly the amount that is required for education to society. Society bears the cost of educating every citizen. So what are you going to do to society is a question that you will have to ask yourself. Unless part of your work goes towards pro bono service to poor people, to persons who are marginalized, persons who cannot have access to justice, then the purpose of this education will be lost. This is the second thing I want you to remember. The last thing which I wanted to impress upon you is many people would tell you, can I succeed in law being a first generation lawyer? In fact, in my farewell from the Supreme Court, everybody talked about my being the first generation lawyer. In my reply, I told the audience I had the advantage of being the first generation lawyer. You always have an advantage in starting in a clean slate. You always have the advantage of not having to carry any luggage. Suppose you are the son of a great lawyer. You may start your career on a platter, but you will never be able to achieve what your parent achieved. Suppose you are the son of a judge. You will start on a platter. Everything will come to you with a silver spoon in the golden plate, but you will never achieve what your father achieved. But if you are a first generation lawyer, the advantage is that whatever you do is an achievement for yourself. That advantage cannot be lost sight of. In fact, today, unlike olden days, 80% of the people who succeed in law are not second generation, third generation lawyers. They are all first generation lawyers. Therefore, with this confidence that you will be able to break the glass ceiling, you will be able to hit the roof, you will be able to succeed, you will have to start your career. When you start your career, think of the society which has done so much of sacrifice to make everyone in the society educated. So with these few words, I congratulate all of you for having chosen law as a profession. I request you to do well, not only in studies, but also in extracurricular activities. I advise all of you to hone your skills in public speaking, To hone your skills in public speaking, you must hone your skills in literature. Today, unfortunately, the interest in literature is gradually coming down. It is not just, law is all about literature, mostly about literature. With a small displacement of a comma, a semicolon, a punctuation mark, the meaning of a sentence can be changed. With the way you articulate something, the way you want to put it can be changed. I always used to give this famous example. Suppose I come to your house, the way you tell me welcome sir will give me an insight into what welcome it is. Suppose a person who is not welcomed by you comes to your house, and when you say welcome, you say it so mechanically that the person should immediately get out. So the way you put across things, language is more important. Body language, the language that you speak. So these are the weapons in the armory of a lawyer which make a lawyer succeed. So with these few words, I congratulate all of you and I wish you a successful career. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your experiences, your words, and I believe these experiences and words students will carry with them well beyond their years here. So after this inspiring and illuminating session, we shall now commence the interactive session. The floor is open to all our students for any query, for any question, observation, or interaction with the esteemed speaker. The floor is all yours, students. Yes.
Good morning, sir. So my name is Pranav, and I want to ask you a personal question. During your time as a judge in the Supreme Court, was there any particular case that significantly changed your judicial philosophy? Thank you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes.
There are in the Supreme Court the chances of developing such a perception is little less, because after a person fails in 3 courts, the case which is Supreme Court. There is one case from Uttar Pradesh where a very difficult case to decide. A person was convicted of committing rape and murder of a 6-year-old girl. The trial court had granted death penalty. The High Court has confirmed the death penalty. The case was before me. Absolutely no evidence. Because the rape and murder of a 6-year-old girl created so much of sensation, the justice was hurried and consequently buried. Death penalty confirmed by the High Court. No evidence, and on the contrary, the evidence was even the fundamental medical examination had not been carried out. The man was a poor man. The serpents of the village wanted to take out a small piece of land which he was left over. So everybody said he is the easy victim available. So I had to reverse the acquittal. I had to reverse the conviction. I had to acquit him. The problem was, the moment the Supreme Court acquits a person who is said to have committed the rape and murder of a 6-year-old, people are up to norms because people decide how now what is right, as though everybody was in that village doing a witness. So I had to write a paragraph explaining not to the litigants but to the public as to why we should do that. I in fact repeatedly began by saying that in order to render justice to a victim, you cannot make an innocent a victim. Victimizing an innocent is not the method of rewarding another victim. So we have to know, how society functions, how things get cooked up.
Any other? Yes, yes, please.
Good morning, sir. It is an honor to interact with you. Sir, I would like to ask you that you have been a science graduate, then a law student, then advocate and judge, and now you are a chair for the National Human Rights Commission. So during all this your journey, how have you been able to maintain and pursue your interest in Tamil literature, as you have also contributed to the literature? How did you manage your time and interest for this thing with law, sir? Thank you.
See, every year, so please sit down. Every year, I was born and brought up in Madras, Chennai. So every year we used to have a book fair in January for about 20 days. All leading publishers will come and put up book stalls. A lot of people will visit the book fair. I have seen there will be a lot of small eateries. The crowd at the eateries in the book fair will be more than the crowd in the bookstores. Then the crowd which purchases the books will be far greater than those who read the books. So all of us do this. We are so much attracted to those books. If we buy 1,000 books, we hardly need 100 books. And we reserve the 900 books for post-retirement, which never happens. That's the hard reality. But during one of those book fairs, the organizer of the book fair published a very interesting slogan for advertising the book fair. He said, it is only the busiest of people who find the time to read. What does that mean? It is only the busiest of people who find time to read. It means people who are not so busy do not find time to read. If you do not find time to read, you must know that you are not one of the busiest people. Time management is, I tell you, I studied throughout in vernacular language. As a lawyer, it was extremely difficult for me to write one sentence in English without grammatical mistakes. So you have to run the race. You are suddenly asked to run a 100-meter race in the Olympic when you don't have any food, when you don't have any, the sports costume, etc. If you have to run, I always tell youngsters, in terms of intelligence, you may not be comparable to X, Y, and Z. In terms of wealth, you may not be comparable to X, Y, and Z. In terms of native brilliance or knowledge, you may not stand in comparison with other people. But when it comes to industry and hard work, you can always ensure that nobody can beat you. Correct? So once you keep this in mind, I can put in more hard work than the best of the students. Then the next comes the question of time management. Most of your time is wasted. If you analyze, I request all of you to spend 1 hour. Keep your mobile phone, laptop, desktop, everything away. 1 hour, close your eyes and contemplate what you do in 24 hours a day. Apart from, many people think that they sleep for 8 hours. They don't sleep for 8 hours, they roll over in the bed for 8 hours. There is a difference between sleeping for 8 hours and then just rolling over in the bed for about 8 hours. If you sleep for 6 hours and roll over in the bed for 2 hours, you actually waste 2 hours, correct? Just make a timetable. What do you do? Once you analyze what you do 24 hours a day, you will find there is so much of time to save which you have wasted. So once you find that out, then that time can be better utilized in other avenues. I will tell you, people who have taught the legal field or those who have studied so many things out of law. People who have studied only people, there is nobody who is an expert in law who knows only law. I have seen the greatest of minds in the legal profession. All those people were as much well-versed in literature, history, philosophy, religion, as they are well-versed in law. Only those people will succeed. Once you know this trick, you will start simultaneously learning many things. Multitasking is today the art of the day. If you are able to do multitask, you will excel in one task. In fact, our Shastras have repeatedly said this. Attainment of excellence in action is yoga. So that's how you will have to manage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Going off of this question, I would like to ask you a book that maybe changed your perspective on life, and what books you would recommend for young lawyers, not law-related, but with classic literature that you think is recommended for us.
See, there is not one book that will really change your course of life. There are a lot of things, For instance, when I was in college, I was attracted towards a lot of left literature. We had a publishing house called New Century Book House. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. New Century Book House used to publish from Das Kapital, Karl Marx, Das Kapital, Friedrich Engels, Maxim Gorky, Andrew Chekhov. So you start reading, there is a Tamil proverb, Kandade Kadika Pandaganavan. You start reading whatever you stumble upon, then you will become Pandit. You do not want the changes. When you start little conservative or orthodox, if I tell you, if you have to read only one book which has everything, and no other book has something which is not there in that book, and that is the Mahabharata. Mahabharata. If you read the entire Mahabharata, I'm not asking you to read it with all reverence for Lord Krishna, Bhakti, etc. Read it as a story. You will find all this, a series of books, the Irish author, that lady, that series, part 1, part 2, part 3, etc., which became huge headlines. It's about a small boy and Harry Potter. If Harry Potter could fascinate you, Mahabharata will fascinate you 1,000 times more than that. Just read it. The morals, revenge, wrongdoing, war, love, everything you take, education, everything is there. There is nothing in the world which is not there in that.
Morning, sir.
Sir, I wanted to know two things from you. My first question is that when we say that, have you ever faced any personal dilemma over so many cases that you have given your judgment on? Have you ever felt conflict in the legal ethics that you have learned throughout your service time and a personal feeling, and you have to decide between both over the judgment?
See, that's not personal feeling. What happens is many times we think the law favors somebody whom you think is not all that correct. You have to give a judgment because the law is in his favor, but your heart is not with him, correct? Is that the case that you are talking about? But the problem is, your heart goes by passion. It doesn't really If you find out what is right and what is wrong, law makes it completely neutral and it gives you sometimes a cold neutrality without getting affected by. Say for instance, I'll tell you, there are cases of child custody cases where both mother and father fight. What do? Your heart may be with the lady, that she must have the custody. But the law says that both should have. The child may not be willing to go to one. It may not be willing to live under both the caregiver of both parents. What do? In real life situations, there are a lot of challenges.